everybody, it's Shelly, the bread lady from the Freight House Farmers Market, and I'm here to help you make the Thanksgiving gravy. Almost couldn't get that out. So it's been a long day. Our turkey is out of the oven. Everything else is in the oven, just being warmed for our meal tonight. And what I've done is I have used my ladle, and I ladled out all of the juices from the bottom of the turkey pot here, so in the bottom of the cooker. Now in the course of the day I did add the rest of the stock that we had prepared just to make sure that I was going to have enough juice by the end of the day. And there are some key things about making your gravy. First of all, you want to get all the juices out of the pan that you can. I like to leave my turkey in the pan until I'm ready to eat. Some people take it out, but then it's cooling down. I like to keep it in there and put the lid on, the real lid on. So I want you to take a look here. You can see that I've put all of this juice into my measuring cup. You can see how the fat is separating from the juices of the turkey. This fat is what we're going to start with. That's the starting point to making really good gravy. And we want to get about 1/4 cup of that off of the top. Did I start that yet? So very carefully, you're going to try to skim that fat. What we want is the fat. Now some people might have a separator that you can do this with, but you know, I just think all those fangled tools are way too much. And I just want to separate, see all that fat? That's what we want. That's the good stuff. We want about 1/4 cup of fat. I want to really get the fat in there. You can tell it's oily looking. There's a little bit of your juice in there. But we for sure want to make sure that we're getting at least 1/4 cup, or just about there. Maybe a little bit more because we've got some of the juice in there. If you've got one of those fancy schmancy separators, go ahead and use it. What we're preparing to do right now, we want that fat because we're going to make a roux. Now if you do this and you don't have enough fat to get 1/4 cup, you can add melted butter. And I've always got melted butter on the stove just in case, because that's a fat, and we could add it to here to get 1/4 cup. So we're going to add it to a fry pan. There we go. I'm going to get this going here. I'm kind of old-fashioned. Gotta light my stove. There we go. What we're doing is we're making a roux. And I've got a lot of juices in there. I might add just a little bit more of this fat. Just want to get a little more fat in there. Okay. Now, we don't want our gravy ultimately to be lumpy. And the reason it's lumpy is usually because all this juice that we're going to add in the end, it got cold. So I've got a pot here with hot water in it. I'm going to shut the heat off, and I'm going to sit this down there in that hot water. Now I already know how much water I can put in the pan, and that's going to keep this hot because we want to put that in our roux hot. I've got flour here, and I've got my whisk. I'm going to add the flour into this oil, and we're going to make kind of a paste. Over the flame. This is what's going to thicken up your gravy. So we're making a roux. And a roux is the one thing that you can make anytime during the year in your kitchen using butter and flour, and it will thicken anything. Anything that you're cooking. You can always use a roux. You can see it starts to darken up. And you really want this to cook. Even though this has thickened up, you want it to cook down a little bit, because right now it picked up that flour. It's going to smell like flour. So we just want to heat this up and keep melting it down. As a matter of fact, right now I am going to add a little bit of my butter to it because I want this to cook down a little bit more. Don't get the cream, just get the butter off the top when you've melted it down like this. So I'm going to add just a little bit of that in there. Making gravy isn't really an exact science. It's more of a, you make it a bunch of times and you get a feel for what you like, but you're always going to have the best gravy if you start with a roux. And this takes a few minutes. You can't rush it because you really want to burn off the flour. I'm going to turn that heat up a little bit. Everyone's stoves are different. You know how high your heat has to get to really get a good flame going. And you can hear it sizzling. You have to keep stirring it because you don't want it to burn. After a while, it starts to get kind of a nutty flavor or a nutty smell, and that's how you know it's done. You can really see it sizzling. That's that butter melting down. Getting more of a nutty smell to it now. That's coming off of the fat. All right, let's go for broke and add in our droppings. Now this might be hot, so you're going to have to be careful when you pull that out of your hot water. Because we wanted to keep this hot the whole time. And we're not going to pour all this in. Again, it's sort of a, see how it does as you start to pour the juices in. You can see it getting creamy. All this flavor is just purely what we got off that turkey. I'm gonna turn that heat to about medium. Ooh, that's looking good. No lumps, nice and smooth. And you might have extra juice left off of your turkey. That's okay. You can save that to make some gravy on another day. Just put it in a mason jar or in a sealed container and put it in the freezer and hold on to it for when you just have a hankering for some turkey gravy. All right, I think this looks pretty good. And I would love to say to you, it's exactly this and exactly that. It really is something that you have to feel your way through, but if you do the basic things, you're always going to get it right. You need a fat, you need your juices to be kept warm. This is a slow process to get this thickening up, and if you've got a good roux started, you'll be able to get that gravy nice and thick. You don't want to rush it. It takes a little time. So right when you're about done with the gravy, you add a little bit of your coarse black pepper. Add just a little bit of the salt. I don't like to add too much salt to anything. But just a little bit of the salt. And then I've got a little bit of butter here I'm going to add. This is a 1/4 cup, and if you remember when we talked about how to measure it out on that butter that you received with your, and don't drop your whisk into the gravy, never a good idea. Anyway, the measurement of your, that's okay, I got it. The measurement of your butter, it's a 1/4 cup. So when you cut your butter that you received into 4ths, and then you take one of those 4ths and cut it into a 4th, that's a 1/4 cup. That's what you're gonna need to finish off your gravy. Look at this, isn't that beautiful golden color? Oh my gosh, no lumps, smooth. All you need is a gravy boat. Enjoy.